this is a first-time presenter. He's new to the Perl Community Conference, and we're very excited to bring him on with such a strong talk to start with. So without further ado, we're going to pass it on over to Kedar Mohile, and I apologize if I didn't get that correct, but we're going to enjoy hearing all about privacy in Perl. Take it away, Kedar.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah. I mean, definitely new to the community, but I've always been a practitioner of Perl, even from the days when I started programming 22 years back, right? And getting Perl, getting Perl back on the map, or let's say at the top, is definitely what I really specialize in. And again, there were definitely modules and stuff like that, and snippets and stuff like that, where we started with, and then something like this came up, and then all of a sudden it was a relief, because just take the example of PGP, right? And we wrote a lot of code on PGP. It was around thousands of lines of codes, and then all of a sudden a module shows up, and then you can relax with that. So that's what this is. Again, the evolution of things, where Perl came in, it provided some relief, it went into the background, and then now it's back with new frameworks, and again there is more relief. And as a security practitioner working in the healthcare area at Amazon, I really want to call out some of these things. I'm not just doing this at the Perl conference, but I'm also presenting the exact same presentation at ISAC as well, and that's what I told William also. So I guess same mission, but at the right place. Finally, I look forward to be with you guys in the winter conference as well. So again, without further ado, I'll start with the presentation here, with a little bit of introduction about myself. Like I said, my name is Kedar Mohile. I'm a data protection strategist at Amazon. And today I'll walk you through how we can build secure and privacy preserving healthcare applications, right? Using the modern Perl frameworks is basically what I'm here to talk about. There's also an exercise. Again, we may not be able to do that in a very interactive way, considering the time, but definitely people who are carrying notepads or on the laptops doing this remotely, maybe we can make some notes and participate in the exercise as good as possible. All right. All right. Sounds good. All right. So, I mean, the core of this talk again is to show that Perl, often seen as legacy, right, is still a privacy powerhouse, right? And I use that in my work day to day, while making, healthcare available to a lot of people, like, Amazon Pharmacy, for example, which makes sure that your drugs and medications are received at your doorstep. Amazon Clinic, for an example, right, which makes sure that you get to the, you get virtual access to a doctor, for an example, or physician, right? So I think, and we'll see how using crypt modules, modulist use APIs, the DBI can build an AI-ready compliant system in the healthcare settings, right? Uh, and I'm going to move through some of the theoretical part a little fast, because then I want to spend more time on the demo or slash exercise that we have, right? So I just wanted to highlight the problem, though, very clearly, that even though AI is poised to revolutionize healthcare, privacy concerns, they definitely delay implementation. And that's what people see me as. Like, whenever they see me on the calls, or if I come into a conf room, they know that he's a security guy, and he's probably going to delay stuff for us, right? And we are going to lose to a competitor or whatever, right? But then with the package that I go there is, I go there with a solution package, and some of that definitely comes up with the top three Perl packages that I discussed in the beginning, right? Because healthcare data is sensitive, regulations are strict, and this makes the real world implementation really tricky. But what I can assure you is that Perl fits in its maturity and reliability shine in these high stakes environments, if I could say that. Uh, Again, I know I'm going fast with the theory part, but then if there's anything that you guys want to stop me, just go at it with the questions, right? Uh, so I mean, I also wanted to add this slide because uh, these are definitely the buzzwords. I mean, there are definitely buzzwords why how people market Java and how people market some of the other Go as an example, right? Or basically they definitely use these buzzwords to make these things really famous, right? Like, yes, Java does support, barrel tested security, or it's a securely driven framework, right? And I just want to jump on the bandwagon. I think as Perl practitioners or somebody who advocates Perl as a language for security, especially in regulated environments, we need to have some of these buzzwords that we all need to probably take screenshot, put it on your LinkedIn profiles, or publicize this as much as possible. And that's what this slide is about. Begin with the privacy problem, then dive into insecure examples and see how really Perl is reliable or battle tested secure, or how it really enhances system integration without compromising hooks or security, or memory based vulnerabilities. I think that's what we're gonna talk about, right? uh, this is where I'm going to spend a little more time, because I'm pretty sure, right, like people who are looking at the recording or people who are joining in live want to know, like, what is this he's talking about? Like, what is really different when it comes to healthcare, and how is Pearl solving it, right? So, I mean, our first key application is the HIPAA compliant data anonymization, right? Like, yes, we need to support people who need to advertise products, as an example, to customers, right? That's a mandatory law, that's a regulation that we are supporting. So people need to advertise so that people can get better health care, what products are coming up and stuff like that. But then, can we let them access everything just because they need access? No, right? And that's where HIPAA compliant data anonymization comes. Does a nurse practitioner needs to see what a surgeon needs to see, or who I mean, that there's definitely different set of views, different set of requirements, and a complex mesh of privacy requirements and racy matrices that we have, right? So point is, HIPAA compliant data anonymization is what goal is to remove or transform identifiable patient information, period, right? Now comes, how can Perl help us with that, right? Perl has advanced regex capabilities, and having worked in the industry for about 2 decades, right, I'll tell you that most of the times when things get complex, like there is PCI, there is HIPAA, or there is child privacy, when or even IP protection for that matter, right? When things get really complex, the Java regex gives up on people, right? So I've seen people really, and I won't take the names of the products, but I've seen people who have actually created a Java-based console, but then just for the regex capabilities, they use Perl. So I mean, by far, I mean, most of us would agree on this call is the Perl's advanced regex capabilities are way superior than Java or any of the other regex types. I'll give you an example, and I have a data point. Like, regex has a lot of false positives. Like today, if you just say, okay, if a number is structured like an SSN, call it an SSN. No, right? Then it's going to be 99% false positives, and your SOC teams are going to get overwhelmed with that. What Perl supports is then you can go ahead and add that arithmetic in it, right? Where you go to the SSN arithmetic wiki page or whatever, and you find out how exactly is an SSN different than just a structured number regex, right? On top of that, I mean, I know Java supports this as well, and I was expecting somebody to correct me there. But what Java doesn't support is keyword proximity based keywords. Like, you can say that, okay, around this regex that we're trying to find out, uh, look for words like payment or finance or something like that, just to compound that detection and to reduce the false positives, right? And I think that's something that we can do with Perl, which no other, I'm happy to say that no other language supports that, right? And same thing, k anonymity that I've mentioned here, and I can go on and on with the examples from my work, right? Like zip codes, birth years, efficiently using arrays and hash operations, differential privacy, a lot of such things. And we're going to see a demo of the code that I'm talking about. But I just want to put the problem and the solution and the key requirements right here. So sort of we feel interested with the examples. But yeah, I mean, I wrap these techniques into a probably like a secure pipeline, right? And where redaction, generalization, uh, and I don't know if you like the word perturbation, right? And again, it's really used in Java and Perl both, right? It's audited, reproducible. I think that's in all will bring some compliance and trust in healthcare deployments, right? Uh, I have three of these key applications. I just really want to focus that how really Perl is the best fit to something like this. Other programming languages can also be a fit, but then Perl is a natural fit, right? Federated learning, data preparation, right? And again, we're entering into the AI LLM space a little bit, right? Where we have in ABC, we are training like a local model that never leaves the institution, right? Only the model weights or gradients, right? You can use Amazon Bedrock, or if you're using some other Google Cloud services, they use their own modeling. So tool agnostic, right? The central node is not aggregating data. Perl is used here to orchestrate the entire data preparation. And this model allows us to conduct like a multi-institutional AI research without violating any data sovereignty or privacy laws. Uh, United States is what I'm focusing on. And definitely there is a different way of how I approach it when we are trying to, meet the European privacy laws, for example. So, I mean, because the pipeline is implemented in Perl, which is already widely used in healthcare backends, integration is really low friction and trustworthy. And on the ninth slide, I also have sort of like real world outcomes on how this is affecting in comparison to other languages, right? Uh, the last one, like I said, I have three of these core requirements that Perl needs to support. Like putting in that, hey, we want this one, two, three, and then how Perl can come in as a hero and sort of like, solve some of these problems of us, right? So third application is, I think, the most impactful, which is the clinical decision support system, so, or CDSS. And people who are familiar with healthcare, I mean, this is all we hear all the time whenever we are called on for a security review. It's a new project. I mean, everybody is just talking about this clinical decision support system. I mean, real-time tools that assist doctors right at the point of care by surfacing insights, recommendation. I mean, of course, you don't want your doctors to like go to ChatGPT and type in all the patient's symptoms and then expect ChatGPT to help the doctors back. So definitely that would be a privacy lapse, right? So people might still use the ChatGPT APIs, but then they might compound it with so many other requirements in the front, where it might build that in a local instance, it might not let the information pass out and stuff like that, right? Of course, bigger players, like some of the ones that I work with, they develop their own LLMs, right? But I think the point is that if you don't provide the doctors something sooner, and if the publicly available tools like ChatGPT or Bard become more advanced than what you provide them, then it is very hard to stop them, right? Okay, you can probably stop somebody that is on your payroll, but then some of these medical providers, right? They're just working with freelancers, as an example, and setting up appointments with them. So how would you regulate them? Definitely, you can set policies, and they would follow those. But there will be a true compliance only when you provide them with something better, right? And I think that's where the secure API endpoints using Modular CS comes into picture. That no matter which LLM you're using, whether that's from a bigger company that's developed in-house or they're using something that is public, we implement homomorphic encryption, right, which allows computation on encrypted data, right? So and again, you can still perform threshold comparisons or predictions like a medical practitioner would need to do, but that's without ever decrypting the data, right? And I think that's something that's really amazing for me, and that's why at my work, outside, when I'm consulting, I always rely heavily on DBI for cross-network database platforms. Uh, so I think with that, I'll end the requirements. I'm also going to go ahead and, uh, you know, uh, advertise these again, that, okay, we are Moose-based object systems for complex medical data models. These exist. A lot of them are already available on Git. Uh, so most of the times people reuse them, and especially smaller practitioners or medical unions and stuff like that. I've seen them, they use a lot. Uh, Again, there's also a comprehensive testing methodology. There are test scripts that are available on Git, which, uh, for automated security testing frameworks, or it also has validation against HIPAA environments. So I just want to put this here again. Once the PDF version of the slides are shared, you can always go ahead and explore them uh, for yourself. And slide number 9, my favorite. Like I said, I always try to be a data-driven person rather than just throwing or trying to push my opinion on others. And this is exactly how it looks like in the current trade. I mean, this is nothing Amazon specific. I'm just doing healthcare specific and across the world, right? Wherever you're using the optimized Perl pipelines for PHI, we are clearly seeing 40% of processing time reduction, uh, fewer security incidents, and that's exactly what we're going to focus in our demo in the next in slide number 12 as an example, right? Faster compliance validation. Even people like us, security practitioners, can easily validate compliance without going through manual code reviews, which we all hate, right? Uh, so I think these are very encouraging numbers. And again, these need to be circulated across so that people know that. I mean, the goal is not to uh, publicize Perl as best, but really show that it is really the best, right? It's not just about saying that it's best, but showing the data points as to why it's the best, right? Uh, again, for healthcare, right now, I'm gonna getting up for the code demo, right? And for that, I'm just saying, implementation challenges and solutions. What are the challenges, right? Uh, Electronic health records, right? There's so much in integrity complexity because most people make it too secure, and then the EHR won't talk to other systems, and then it's useless because then the medical practitioner is so jaded and restricted that he can't compete with some of the other players in the market, right? Yeah, we are far from, we are just talking about getting good care, but we are also trying to say here is that, my medical practitioner needs to be empowered enough that he becomes the best care as well, right? While getting access to quick care. Uh, Performance with large data sets, and of course medical diagnosis and stuff like that gets really complex sometimes, and then the version revision of medication, and the drugs that are being used, the regulatory compliance that is attached to each one. And then again, everybody comes up with a legacy system, right? And I think the only true winner is who integrates with that successfully, right? So with that, without further ado, let's get to the exercise. Like I said, includes 10 embedded security vulnerabilities, because of course in the medical environment we're mostly working with embedded systems. Like I said, make mental notes, note it down on the notepad, and here we go. So I'm gonna pause for uh, 3 minutes. You can carefully look at this very simple code. It's nothing advanced, right? But it definitely has 10 huge security vulnerabilities that are pretty hard to miss, right? So go at it. I'm going to stop talking so you guys can focus, and I'm going to be back at 12:21 Eastern. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
If I was just going to try and pick out a few obvious ones that related to Perl only and did not relate to um, specifically network or database things that are outside of my expertise, then, well, I mean, a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people complain about CGI being out of date. And I don't know if that's one of your security vulnerabilities, but there's a lot of ongoing arguments about that.
Yeah.
Um, and
Absolutely.
also,
That's the first one, line number three. You got it right.
well, I even know that some people want to use user bin env as their shebang line instead of directly calling user bin Perl. That way there's a finer grained operating system control over what Perl you're using, which could be related to security patches and vulnerabilities. I know that I'm stretching, but again, my knowledge is not related to networks and databases. Okay. Then I would also say anything in Perl, I never allow any of my programmers in almost any situations to use double quotes on anything because it's one of the top sources of difficult to find bugs. And I'm assuming it's also one of the sources of maybe difficult to find security vulnerabilities. So I would disallow any place that has double quotes, even if there's no dollar signs or special characters in there. If only that you don't even need to double quote things that don't have special characters in them. And the only special characters that I put inside of double quotes, and it's usually literally double quote backslash n close double quote, and those are the only character. And I do it all the time because I don't like the say command. I like to use print, so I control explicitly where the new line characters appear in my output. So I only use print, and I use commas to separate the operands to print, and I use only new lines and double quotes. And I do not allow any string interpolation other than new line unless it is somehow critically required and unavoidable in any way. So basically every line you have that has double quotes on it, I would red flag immediately. And that's probably about where I think that using the 3 operand version of open may be another security related thing, because that gives you some other finer grain control over the files themselves, and that may be me reaching a bit. And also, I don't like calling system if I don't have to. I realize that you're trying to run the curl command,
Yes.
but there's probably, I think there's like some other form of system or some other way. I know there's obviously many ways of calling out to things like backticks and so forth, but I think there's a multi-operand version of system or something like that. This is all off the top of my head, that gives you, again, finer grain control over the security of opening external commands, kind of similar to how you need to have fine grain control over the open command for the files. So those
Yes.
are my best guesses. I hope I hit a few kind of general target areas there.
No, absolutely. I think out of 10, I would say you got 6 of them right.
Wow.
Again, there are terms in security that obviously you didn't use, but then you explained exactly what those terms mean. Like, the system thing, it's remote code execution, right? Outdated CGI module, you got that one. Uh, unescaped output, that's what you were trying to do with the quotes there. So here we go. Does anybody else want to try, or should we start discussing?
Um, I noticed, I think a few things. I used to work in security, and but it looks like there's a potential for SQL injection and for sideways authorization. So basically, it looks like you can manipulate the query string and look at any patient record.
Yes.
Yeah, and possibly also do a Bobby table style add in a deletion by putting, after the ID, you could put or you could turn it into a comment and then put a delete SQL statement, or depending on what. I mean, there's certainly nothing here that looks like it would prevent that kind of privilege escalation. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it also looks like in the loop we're sort of being a bit cavalier with patient details. It looks like we're sort of just chucking patient details out to the console or wherever that would go, where that print statement would go. That might go to a server log. And I certainly wouldn't want to be using curl from production software because there are better options. I mean, curl's a great piece of piece of software, but if you're writing Perl, you've got lots of very good quality software for making HTTP requests. Anyway, yeah, and it looks like there's a load of potential problematic stuff there around the patients.log, which also looks like something that a hacker would just rub their hands with glee. But presumably, also, even if curl was the sensible thing to use, well, it looks like if you're calling curl, then you're relying on the server that curl to be secure. Whereas if you stay within the Perl interpreter, you don't have to worry about. Yeah, you're asking a whole other bit of the server to not be compromised.
Correct.
For me.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, most of it. Again, no SSL on DB.
The other two that I see, I mean, the huge one is that SQL injection, but you're
Yes.
both embedding credentials in a program, and the one you embedded is the root. So that's two right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to mention that as
And
well.
it's
Yeah,
just
I actually, one of the
it's
last
very
times I was
interface,
working
yes.
with Perl, I had to do that, to take out loads of passwords like that out of scripts I'd written 10 years ago. But yeah, anyway.
Correct. All right. Anybody else wants to give it a try? We still have two that nobody has guessed, but again, those might be pretty specific to healthcare. So, all right, let's move on and let's talk about it. So, yes, line number 3, outdated CGI module. William got it, and I think the two of you too sort of hinted towards it. Line number 5, there's unvalidated user input, because you see how that CGI is directly allowing the parameter ID is used directly without sanitization. Line number 7, hard-coded DB credentials. It's just staring right at your face. I mean, I think the biggest one, it would probably be a critical one because it's root, not even a high vulnerability. I guess it's like a shut the app down, fix it, and then turn it back on, right? No, this is like from the programmer's perspective. All right, you got me. Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. But that's line number 7. Then just 2 lines after, I think 2 of you pointed this out. SQL injection on patient underscore ID. It's interpolated directly into the query string. Strict no, right? And then this one, I think nobody got it. But again, like I said, this is specific to PHI. Is line number 13, where there's sensitive data logging, where you're writing PHI using that $row line to a local file in plain text. Again, this would be a big finding, and there would be an NC that would be logged by an auditor if somebody does that when logging data. The line number 16, William got this one, remote code execution, where system call can be exploited for shell injection, and it's pretty easy, right? And again, we are using an outdated CGI module, so it's absolutely defenseless here. Line number 16, again, there's one more. This was also highlighted, unencrypted transmission, where the data is sent over HTTP with no TLS or encryption, both a security and a compliance failure. Line number 19, again, William caught this unescaped output. It directly prints potentially unsafe user data to terminal or web page or form, however we use this page, right? Ninth one, this was also caught by you guys, no SSL on DB connection. So DB connection is in plain text. I would normally expect to see MySQL underscore SSL equals 1, which I don't see there, right? And in general, that the 10th one is just general about no error handling or no logging. So those are the top 10 high and medium vulnerabilities that we have. William went in and mentioned some more, but those weren't either high or medium. So yeah. Yes. Yes. That's true. Yeah. How this page is used, depending upon that, I agree. That is a possible addition too. All right. This is the answer key we discussed. And the summary of fixes now, that how we can replace this. And as per programmers, I don't need to spend too much time on this. Once I find the vulnerabilities, I think most of my colleagues and programmers that I work with, they're like, yeah, don't get to solutioning. I know how to fix it. But I still have the key part of it in the slide and summary of fixes. Uh, and then I did my best. Again, you guys are experts, maybe more experienced than me. I just have more experience in security. This is my best way attempt to fix it. Again, I'm just trying to fix the highs and the criticals, the highs and the mediums, not the lows and the infos. But again, if you guys see that I made some mistakes, and if you guys have some better ways of even doing this part better, I've left my email address towards the end of the slide here, and you guys can just correct me then and there, right? Be as brutal as possible, because that's what I do when I work with the people who code it, so that the resultant product is safe and nobody's PHI is ever exploited by bad actors, right? So again, key takeaways: Perl provides a unique combination for healthcare. I hope I was able to demonstrate that a little bit, change people's opinion on why they should give it Perl a try first. Especially some of the use cases or the advanced capabilities of handling regex as an example, right? Privacy preserving techniques like homomorphic encryption or federated learning, differential privacy. I think these are all embedded into the modules, which I think is a great benefit. And the measurements that we discussed on the measurement slide. So that's all I have for today, and it was a great participation, great group, and thanks so much for giving me this opportunity. Hopefully I can come back in the winter if you like the presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Kedar. Let's have a round of applause for privacy preserving data processing in Perl. Okay. I would like to go back briefly to your solution slide. Can you bring up the slide that shows how to solve all of your problems in life? It's the solutions to everything in life. There we go. Yes. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one. So I just wanted to for those who are not already experts in fixing all of these things, which would include me, can you just spend a few moments on each one and say, why is it a flaw, and why did you fix it with Mojolicious, for example?
Yeah, we can do that. So maybe here, right? Like, when you see, right, sorry, I didn't get the voice was breaking just for me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. This is the solution key. So anybody who, I mean, you can literally run both codes and run it through a SAST engine or something, and then you would see that the first one would definitely show like the security status as at probably 7% or 8%, and then this one should show. If you just select the highest levels, I mean the highest criticals and mediums, then this should be at a good 100% secure code. So yeah, this is the key. If anybody wants to, if anybody is not into solutioning, they can use this one.
Okay, and when you say key, usually the key would again be that list that shows what each of the errors was and the proposed solution, and this would simply be the answer itself is this Mojolicious code, right? So, okay, I'm sorry, I must have somehow missed you showing this code, and what I would like you to do is go back to that, again, the list, that, yes, that one right there. And Evan Carroll has a question. If you want to answer his question first, that's fine. And then again, I would like you to just very briefly, for each of these items that you have listed, tell me why it is a flaw. I don't know why CGI module is a flaw, okay? And I don't know why replacing it with Mojolicious is a secure fix, for example. But go ahead and answer Evan's question first. Can you see his question there? It's in the chat thing. Well, let me see if I can read it for you. It says, why use LWP user agent if you're using Mojolicious? Why not you use Mojo user agent instead?
Yeah, I think it's both ways is correct. I don't see it wrong doing the Mojolicious way as well. Yeah, I can. I mean, after the presentation, I could run the SAST scanner on both syntaxes and see. But I think you're right. I mean, if we are including Mojolicious, then we should do that because that would leverage like a non-blocking IO, and of course, we are all professing modern syntaxes here. And again, it's built-in web server for fast development. So I think we should stick to that. If we are importing that module, then we should stay away from LWP user agent. I sort of agree with you. So Mhm. All right. All right, that sounds good. Fair enough. I think when you replace it with Mojolicious, right? Like, of course, there are ways to write WebSockets and event-based async, right? It's very easy to build JSON APIs, but you will have to write a lot of code for that. Uh, Modulus, like it has a built-in web server module. It's real-time capable, right? And it's also REST API friendly. And for the best part, right, what us as security reviewers like it is that it has built-in CSRF, right? Like even in Java, you still have to write the include CSRF code towards the end. But here it's just when you include that module, cookie signing, input filtering, all just comes in as a gift, right? Uh, Very powerful and readable, right? Like we can all talk about writing manual code. Like I just did it out of habit, LWP user agent, right? But it doesn't read well. But what the suggestion was to use the modular space, and that definitely is gonna work better. Uh, Core modulicious, right, doesn't needs any cpan modules outside of core Perl, right? And security reviewers love that because third-party dependencies is definitely one of the biggest risks because you don't control them. The updates come in and you're at the mercy of those updates. And sometimes it's very time consuming to test those updates, right? Excellent for prototyping, and I can go on and on with modulicious because I'm really a fan of that, right? Input sanitization, again, uh, you know, most of the DOS attacks, right? And especially I'm talking about the parametric DOS attacks. Like, yeah, we've all heard about back in the day, right? When Cisco was new, people would just do a sequence of backslashes, clubbed with escape characters and dots, and the Cisco router would just flip upside down with that, right? They didn't have to like book a huge data center in some OFAC country and then attack your data center using that. All they had to do was just be really smart with the order of the escape characters, and devices would just flip. Some of the ICs would get fried up, right? So I think that's why input sanitization is so important, and I think uh, Perl is best in regex, and I think the regex match on ID parameter is definitely that. Uh, hard-coded secrets is it's really not just limited to Perl, right? Like you really need to, you cannot throw in your username and passwords. And in my case, I just overdid it by throwing in like the root username and password, right? You always need to use the environmental variables. There are a lot of other tools that people use where it is called indirect password referential techniques. You could use that too as well, but I just want to keep it simple to environmental variables at this point. Some of the SaaS tools even would call environmental variables as a risk nowadays, right? So that's when you have to move a step ahead and do some of the other things. Uh, SQL injection, right? Like use parameterized queries. Don't leave the space for somebody to replace that one-line query with a 50-line query. And that can be a write query, that can be an extract query, even if it is read-only. We are dealing with PHI data, and we don't want people's data compromised, right? The fines that we deal with this, right, and especially when we talk about SQL injection, is that one record gets compromised, the penalty for the company is $5,000. For PII, it might be somewhere around $250. So things completely change in terms of security when you upgrade from PII to PHI, right? Again, we spoke about root, but system colon is, system parentheses is nothing different, right? You're just allowing access to the memory. You're just allowing access to the system, right? Instead, just use modulicious, right? We all know the clear text thing, like when the data is on the wire, when the data is in transit, it can be easily Wireshark, ethereal, or you can physically jack the wire and see what's going in bits and bytes, and you could just use a bit reader like Wireshark, and you can actually see in clear text what's going out. And we can actually identify which one is the data packet. There's even sequencing that some of these tools find out. So you can easily make a good message off of that if it's plain text, and easily extract all the PII for anybody for that matter. And God forbid if that person is a celebrity or a big NBA star, and you know what happens next. Extortion, blackmailing, right? And that I'll release it to public and stuff like that. So I think that's where the HTTPS would come into picture. On the output, again, it's similar to input sanitization. If you have input sanitization, you are preventing it from a DOS attack, from somebody from flipping the system upside down. But then for the output, that only certain amount and certain types of outputs should be available for people to extract them, right? And I think so. If you're a doctor, you would have different access. Surgeon, nurse, the receptionist would have a different type of access. And I think that's where one of the tightening the output and preventing the escaped characters or doing it a JSON encoded way is definitely the way forward. DB connection is similar to HTTPS. You want all your writes and reads into the database. Use TLS. I'm just calling it SSL here, so people can see it. And then finally, error handling, right? Like, what are we doing here? We are just like releasing this healthcare solution to the world, and we don't know what errors are happening. At least try to catch the default ones, and then maybe create a secure library to catch the ones that are really complex and custom and very specific to your application. So yeah. I mean, that's all about the fixes, why we did it, and what's the rationale behind it. So yeah. Right. Anything else any other questions that we can talk about, or? All right, over to you, William. I guess that's pretty much it from my side. No questions, and you can still send questions over to me on email, if anything. Yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity.